Have you heard of the post-pandemic phenomenon referred to as the Great Resignation or the turnover crisis in the media? If you have, then that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to cover what it is, why it's happening, and what can companies do about it. But if you haven't, that's okay, because I'm going to do a super quick recap before we start the actual conversation. So what happened is 4 million Americans quit their jobs in April, which was then followed by 3.6 million more people quitting their jobs in the month of May. Meanwhile, there was a record number of job openings at 9.3 million in April as the economy was reopening after a long, dark shutdown for more than a year. So there's obviously a labor shortage, which is worrying businesses, but not so much worrying the employees right now. Basically, a very big shift is happening and the media is on fire with this topic. As you might have guessed, these stats are from the US, but I expect similar trends and a similar shift in other countries for the rest of 2021. And since I've always been intrigued about shifts and evolutions of the labor market and how people adapt their lives to go with these changes, I decided to cover the Great Resignation from my perspective and start a conversation with this video because I think it's really important that we have one. All right, if that sounds interesting, stay tuned and stick till the end because we're gonna have a long conversation about this and we're gonna cover a lot of points, and I want you to be here for the rest of that so that you can contribute to the conversation and leave me your experiences and notes or thoughts below in the comments. And I'm gonna ask for a small favor before we deep dive into the topic. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos around marketing, career, and I guess work life now. With that said, let's begin with identifying what this Great Resignation is. As I just summarized, a record number of people are quitting their jobs in the US, likely in other countries as well that we're currently maybe not hearing about, but it's happening everywhere. And it is alarming businesses and forcing them to rethink how they do things and how they are going to maintain and attract good talent from now on. And what likely triggered this change or this trend is when companies started to call back employees to the office in the fall or started to have conversations around the possibility of doing so, which eventually led to a massive turnover. And this is probably going to only increase with a snowball effect as companies start to call back employees to the office. I mean, realistically, if you went home for the first time last year when COVID hit and you started to work from home and you experienced that for the whole year, what would be your opinion of going back to the office? I feel that a lot of people found it to be a lot more comfortable and they settled in, they made changes to their lives. And although it was more challenging in the beginning, I think people got used to the idea of working from home or working remotely wherever they are based, who cares? But they realized that being in the office or being physically present along with their team in a physical space, that wasn't really necessary to get things done. Well, personally, I worked remotely since the year 2015 or 16, so I am pretty much used to it, and this is my nature, like this is my comfort zone now. So I might not be able to empathize that much with people who have just transitioned into this model, but I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts? Like if you actually went to work from home last year when COVID hit, what do you think about going back to the office now? Let me know in the comments. There's already a lot of articles published by popular media outlets, and there's even a trend on YouTube that uses the keywords "I quit" or "the reason I quit my job" or "why I quit" and stuff like that. So you might have actually come across those videos before you even heard of the term "the resignation," which was also the case for me. The interesting thing is that people are getting courage from other people who are quitting their jobs and who are announcing this publicly, who are sharing their experiences, who are sharing their reasons behind it. We always tend to find, as humans, courage from other people when they share their experiences of doing these challenging or doing these scary things. So as people start to talk more and more about quitting and validating the reasons for quitting, I think they are going to influence a lot more people. So this is only going to have a snowball effect in the near future. All right, now let's get to the juicy part, which is why this is happening. When the pandemic hit, the world as we know it changed, and so did the world of work. So here are some reasons that I'm observing and I have personally experienced too that I think validate this change. Well, first thing is very obvious. People had a lot of time to self-reflect. And what that meant is that we slowed down and we reevaluated everything in our lives and everything that we could see with our eyes, right? So from bathroom decor to indoor plants, to the number of jars that we have in our kitchen cabinet, all the way to how meaningful our work is, which led to a shift in mindset from how much do I make to what makes sense for me. So we started to search for purpose in what we do. We started to question why we are doing that. Am I fulfilled? Is this making me happy? Is this allowing me to have a proper work-life balance? And all of those really important questions started to kind of being dumped on our brains. Am I fulfilled? Is this the best that I can do? And we also realized that life is too short to spend on things that we're not happy with, which translates into reevaluating our career and life priorities. How much time during a week do I want to spend working? How much time do I want to allocate to my family? Because we grew this appreciation for the time that we spent with people who we were literally in lockdown with and who we were stuck with for a very long time. But we eventually started to appreciate the time that we spent with family versus work. And also because it was the first time we transitioned from offices to working from home, we overworked, we got burnt out, and the boundaries of work and life became less and less visible. Emails and Slack messages continued all the way into the evening, and some of us realized that even when we're watching TV with our partner at night, we were trying to reply to those emails. And when you compare this to the times when people were actually in offices, they would shut down their computers at 5 or 6 p.m. and they would leave, get out the door to go home or go to the gym or do whatever. But there was more of a boundary between office and life, or work and life. Then comes the juggling between work and life changes. I mean, we had to start working with our kids at home. They were literally pulling down on our sleeves as we were in Zoom meetings. Like, trying to manage that is really, really challenging. And that left us with more mental health issues than we ever had. And I'm not just referring to like working with kids, but overall trying to juggle work and life together and try to do it all in one single space. I mean, we're lucky if we didn't go crazy with all of that. The next reason why I think the change is happening is because we have gained more awareness and acceptance around self-care and mental health, which is totally wonderful. And I think that's actually one of the biggest gains from the pandemic. At the same time, it led to a higher need to prioritize well-being above anything else and seeking for balance. Again, validating why people are quitting their jobs that don't make them happy. Personally, I turned down so many opportunities this past year, probably more than I have ever turned down in my whole career, just because of a better understanding of what balance looks like for me and what I want from life. If you watch the hustle culture video that I made a couple weeks ago, I actually mentioned a recent story and why I turned down this company that was trying to wreck my work-life balance and why I had had enough of it. The next reason is very simple. People just don't want to go back to the office because they have gotten used to the comfort of working from home or working from wherever they want, and also the comfort of being able to move their homes to other cities and to places that are cheaper than where they currently live. So they are trying to reduce their cost of living. They have the flexibility, the freedom to move, the freedom to be at home and work in whatever uniform that suits them and that makes them comfortable. And that's a huge enough reason for people to not want to go back to the office. In fact, there was a recent survey again done in the US. They asked 1,000 adults in America, and 39% of them said that they would quit their jobs if their jobs would not be flexible about remote work. And on top of that, there's also a generational difference. So when you look at the demographic of Gen Z or millennials, the rate of people who say they will quit their jobs if they have to go back to the office is even higher at 49%. On to the next reason. People actually physically relocated to other cities to reduce their cost of living, or because they wanted to be closer to family or other people they loved in their lives, or there were other cities that they were always interested in going, and now because they had the chance to do that, they have relocated. And physically, because they're far away, they don't want to go back to the office. And that's a totally valid reason for, again, people quitting. I mean, commuting to the office, like that idea now seems ancient to me. I don't know about you, but it really feels like it's from the olden days. What's more is that switching jobs is easier than ever due to having access to a wider range of opportunities due due to a lot of companies actually transitioning into being remote first or applying hybrid models where they don't actually require people to come to the offices. So now we all have access to a lot more opportunities than we used to have just over a year ago. And the last reason that I could think of is that our spending habits changed. So as we spend so much time indoors, we realized what was necessary for us to buy and what was more important for us to have in our lives versus things that we would be mindlessly purchasing and spending our money on. So we reevaluated our spending habits as well, and we realized that we don't actually need to spend that much money. We can really easily cut down on a lot of things and therefore don't actually need to make that much money. So I know that's a long list of reasons. I'm sure I could find a lot more if I wanted to, but the essence is that people have changed, and that is a good enough reason. So now let's move on to what can companies do about it. Number one is very simple: understanding why people are quitting in the first place so that you can approach, as the companies obviously, with the right approach. So it's basically, marketing 101. If you understand your buyer persona, you know how to communicate to them and how to approach and how to sell to them, right? So if you are able to understand why people are quitting in the first place, like what's really wrong with your policy or changes as a company, you can understand what to do about it. Number two is something I'm quite passionate about, and that is focusing on and investing into strengthening and building a company culture so that you can give people a stronger reason to stay with your company and to give them a sense of belonging. The next suggestion is not very easy for a lot of businesses to do, but it is to prioritize work-life balance and not ask for your employees to give their lives to you and work endlessly for your company, because that's not realistic, that's not healthy, that's not what people want, and that isn't something that any company should want or ask from their employees. Companies should be supporting their employees to have a life outside of work and to do things that make them happy, to take care of their families, to take care of themselves, and to invest in their learnings and growth and well-being in general so that they can be the best version of themselves when they're at work. Essentially, the formula is very simple. If a person is happy outside of work, and if a person can find a proper balance of their life and things they want in life, and to do that alongside their work, then they will also be happier and better performing at work as well. So that's just a simple formula that I think every company should kind of engrave in their minds, or not minds, but like policies or manifestos. Next is another one that should be obvious, but accepting the fact that remote work is here to stay and that there is no way of denying it or going against the flow, because this is what has happened. Like, this is the future of work. So if you want to be a business that stays in the game and, kind of survives, then you need to understand that this is here to stay. And even if remote first or remote only is not an option for your business, then you should still be considering a hybrid approach or looking into other options. Next thing that companies could do is to reevaluate the compensation and perks packages to account for cost of living, well-being, lifestyle, and family needs as well. I actually recently saw a suggestion in an article that I am going to link in the description box below. I found that article to be really helpful and a really good read, so I am going to put that there. But one of the suggestions there was about companies supporting employees around childcare and the cost of childcare or something along those lines, and it really resonated with me, obviously because I have a daughter that goes to daycare, and it was very difficult to not have daycare for her when both parents were working from home and trying to juggle everything that I mentioned in the changes that was happening in the previous section of the video. And I mean, if this new work model is here to stay, then more and more people are going to have this need. So it's just better that the companies actually account for it and take this into consideration when it comes to perks and compensation. And the final point I want to add to this section is that companies should be happy for their employees who are pursuing their dreams, who are quitting because they've always forever had this other dream that they wanted to do, and now they are finding that courage, or they're finding that financial space, or that, I guess, freedom to take that leap of faith and to do whatever their heart calls. Essentially, the key to happy employees is when they find their balance and when they find something that is meaningful to them. So if they are leaving because of this reason, then just let them be and let them go on their paths and just be happy for them and support them. To wrap up, there's a lot of things that businesses could be doing. This is just a summary. This is just a couple of ideas that I initially had, but this conversation could really be extended, and I would love your input on this in the comment section below, because I know that businesses are also going to read this as well. So it is up to us to raise our voice, to ask for things that matter to us as employees and create a chance to be heard. Having said that, I also need to add that it's not a fully negative scenario for the businesses either. The shift is actually bringing many advantages for the businesses as well, such as reduction in operational costs, but it's a matter of them being able to see it as an advantage and adapt their strategy to have a better position. People have changed, and so the businesses need to also change. It's as simple as that. So that's a wrap of the things I wanted to share in this video, but as I said, I want this to turn into a conversation. I want to hear your opinions about why people are quitting. Have you quit, for example? What was your experience? Why did you quit? And why do you think people are quitting? And what could be the changes that businesses make so that they are in a better position and they don't actually end up losing all of their talent? So if you have any input for the conversation, anything you want to share, or have any answers or suggestions, please do leave them in the comment section below, and let's continue the conversation there. And if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this one that I publish every single week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.